Hello and welcome back to my small little library. Today we're gonna talk about the books that I read in November. I read 8 books in November, which I'm really happy with, and it was not the best reading month. Pretty much all of the new books I read were great, and then I did 2 rereads, which were amazing to kind of even out the not so great rest of the month. I started the month with Kiss the Girls by James Patterson, which is a part of the Alex Cross series, which is a detective series that focuses like a lot on racism. Our main character, Alex Cross, is black and he lives in a predominantly black neighborhood that has a lot of problems with crime, and then he goes after bad guys, and like racism is a lot of the times a part of that. In this one, a family member of his is like a victim of a crime, and I think it's his niece. She vanishes from her apartment where she, like, I think she either studies or works. I've forgotten a lot about the book already, which is part of why my rating it isn't the best. But yeah, she's part of the case, and so our detective flies to where she lives and is helping the cops there and the FBI, because he's the FBI's liaison for certain crimes. And so yeah, that is what he's doing. I gave this 3 stars. It's a pretty average thriller, I would say. Like, there's nothing really incredibly bad about this, but it isn't a standout thriller. Mostly, I don't like how James Patterson writes his characters. I don't really like his characters, so that is hard for me. For thriller, I need to like the main character. I don't know. I still think they're good thrillers for like the story and the focus the book's set on. So I would actually recommend reading them if you think you would actually enjoy the topic of the books. And if you don't care as much as me about connecting with the main character, because yeah, I've read better main characters in thrillers, but like, which is why I gave this a 3 stars, because yeah, it could have been a lot worse, but I feel like it could have been better. Then we have the worst book of the month. You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. And I'm sad to say that I have a really complicated relationship with this book. This is a horror book. And our main character is a trans man who becomes pregnant throughout the story, and he is in an starting off consensual domestic violence situation. Like, it starts off consensual. In my opinion, it's not, but that is how the book portrays it. And then it turns into a non-consensual violent relationship and a forced pregnancy and a lot of that, but like paired with horror, with like a parasite that is in them and saves them from destroying themselves, but then they have the parasite in them and they have to save the hive and protect it, and you aren't allowed to leave. And it's like a little bit of like cold with forced, like a lot of forced stuff. I did not like it at all. First of all, I think it would have been way better if this wouldn't have been a horror book. I think the horror part cheapens the whole story. That is just, the pretty much the horror part is only to give a reason why the main character doesn't leave for a long part of the book. Yeah, I did not enjoy the tone of the book. I did not enjoy that it was portrayed as consensual in the beginning. In my opinion, it never was consensual. But that is a problem with how society views people who are in bad situations and feel like they have no other choice. In my personal opinion, that's not really consensual, but the book does seem to have a different opinion when it comes to that. But yeah, I hate the whole forced pregnancy topic. Can't read it. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. It's too realistic for my taste. Yeah, I couldn't deal with the story, which in some people's eyes might make the book better. In my eyes, makes the book horrible. I think this should have been a fictional contemporary story that would have tackled the topic with a lot more nuance and instead it got to be a horror book that, in my opinion, talks really weirdly about a couple of topics, and that didn't make me feel the greatest. So I gave it 2 stars. Should have maybe been a 1 star. I feel really bad giving 1 stars, so it is a 2 star. I would not recommend it. I don't think it's all that great. If you are, I don't know, if your interest is piqued, maybe lend it from a library. Or go out and buy it. I mean, I can't tell you what to do. I would not recommend buying it. Then we have the next bookbox book. Also, this is from the Evernight Illumicrate. I think that was the first one that I did not like, that I got by them, but like the art is really cool, the book looks cool, as always with Illumicrate. Then we have the next Illumicrate book that I tackled, and this is from the Sci-Fi Illumicrate box. It's called An Unbreakable World by Ren Hutchings, and this got 3 stars. Oh, this one got also 2 stars. This is a heist novel that has the heist in like the last tiny bit of the book. That's like, no for me. I hate this trend where you are promoting a heist novel and then mostly it's about everything else but not the heist, or like the preparation of the heist. But you know, we want action, we want a heist, we want drama with the heist, and not the heist being like the last little part of the book. Other than that, it's about a main character who calls herself Page Found, which, sorry, but it's a horrible name, even with the explanation of she's given it herself because she has no memory. Why would you pick Page Found? I don't get it, not at all. But yeah, she calls herself Page Found. She has no idea what happens other than that she has medical debt and is paying it off on like the small little planet. And then 2 guys come and kidnap her. And her only thought is, now I will never know where I'm from. Even though her kidnappers speak the same language she speaks, which she didn't know that she knows it, and she doesn't know why, and obviously there's a connection. And yeah, then comes the heist, all of it. She's supposed to help with the heist. I don't know why they couldn't just go in and ask her. No, they kidnap her. I didn't enjoy the book. Let me just say it like it is. I don't know. I liked, kind of like the way the characters were written, but everything else kind of just wasn't it, to be honest. After that, I then picked up my last James Rollins book that I had on my TBR, my physical, which is The Judas Strain. This is your typical James Rollins. Yeah, if you've read the James Rollins, really similar to Dan Brown, but better in the long run. Dan Brown got really bad really fast there, and these ones are like pretty average 3 stars all the way through, all of them. Like, I read 8 books of his, and they were all 3 stars more or less. I think there was 1 2-star, 1 4-star, so it's averaging out to 3 stars. And yeah, this is about an illness, a virus that gets out that is called the Judas Strain, and our main character, which is, I always forget his name, Gray Pierce, part of the Sigma Force, a really educated special forces unit from America. And they take the special cases, and in this case they have this illness that starts at sea, and they have to try and make it so that humanity doesn't vanish because of it, and it has supernatural aspects. There's a little bit of like history in there with Marco Polo, so they always kind of pull in one historical figure, the books, which I think is actually quite interesting. It's your average action thriller, supernatural part, Dan Brownish novel, which I like them, I enjoy them, but they were, it's a 3 stars, you know, it's nothing that is standing out in any kind of way. Then we have a book I should have seen coming that I wouldn't enjoy it, but here we are. I've read Rose Madder by Stephen King, and sadly I didn't enjoy it. It's just 3 stars because it's not a bad book. I actually really like the story, but I did not like the topic, which is domestic violence, and he makes it so Rose Madder has a miscarriage because he kicks her in the stomach. It's a lot of things in this book that I cannot handle. I have to say it. I will probably never pick another book up that has pregnancy and domestic violence as the main focus of the book. In this one we have Rose, who is married to a cop who is abusing her for 14 years, and then she finally gets the courage to leave, and he's after her, and he tries to kill her, and she tries to survive. And through all of that, she finds new love. There's a supernatural aspect with a painting, and it's a really cool story. I think I really like the concept of the story. I like the characters. All of the like characterization of our perpetrator, of our victim, felt really, really good. I just could not stand the topic, and because of that, I found the book to be really unenjoyable. So yeah, nothing against the book, just 3 stars because I didn't like it, even though I think the story is actually great, which sounds dumb if I say it out loud, but I hope you get what I mean. You know, if you would ask me, should I read it, I would say read it. If you can stomach the topic of domestic violence and, you know, all that comes with it, like pretty graphic descriptions of violence and what is happening to her. The book starts pretty heavy. I'm gonna have to say that, which, you know, it gets you in like the tone for the book, but it doesn't make it any better. At least for me, you know. Then I read another James Patterson book, which is Pop Goes the Weasel, which is the next book in the Alex Cross series. This one I found to be a little bit more interesting than the other one, so I gave it 3.5 stars because the story is about 4 people who are playing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and they are playing this like dice game of killing with like chances and stuff, and yeah, it was really interesting. We also have the concept, the aspect of our main perpetrator being a British guy who works for the embassy, who goes out and like uses blackface to commit crimes. So, you know, you have that aspect in the story. So yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars. Really interesting story, still not connecting with the main character. But yeah, if you don't care about the connection with the main character, or maybe you think you would connect with the main character, I think this one is by far the best of the series so far. So I would actually recommend just going for Pop Goes the Weasel. And then, as like a quick last thing, we have the 2 books that I reread. We have a 5-star, which is The Hobbit, which, you know, what can I say still about The Hobbit that nobody knows? I love this book, especially the ending. I think it's brilliant that we get to go back to the Shire and, you know, we see what happened whilst Bilbo was gone, and, you know, him coming back and everybody reacting to that. I think it's a really great thing. Also, my favorite elves are in here. I just love the elves so much. Yeah, the depiction of elves is just my favorite in Tolkien. Doesn't matter what other book I've read so far that had elves in them. I think Tolkien will always be my favorite depiction of elves in fiction. So yeah, if you haven't read The Hobbit for some reason, go into it. It's a great story, and it's not a children's story in my opinion. It's like, it was marketed as a children's story. I think it's more like, you know, a teenager story, but a pretty great adult story, you know. And then the last book that I read in November is Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this is the first time that I had to deduct a star after finishing a book for a second time, which was pretty interesting. This is a book, I really like the concept of the story. It's about humanity going to the stars, and our main character is from the is Linnes. She is the daughter of the queen of a kingdom on like a planet, pretty like medieval stylish, at least that's how it's how it reads. And they have this sorcerer's tower on their world, and Linnes goes to the sorcerer because there's supposed to be a demon on their way in like a neighboring kingdom, and she wants to help. Her mother doesn't want to help, but she wants to help. So she goes to the sorcerer. Turns out the sorcerer is also human, but he looks pretty different because he's from the second time humans went to the stars. Because, as in a lot of books, like, humanity went to the stars, blew themselves up, and then grown all the way to being able to go back to the stars, and then went back to the stars. And so we have this like technological mismatch between the two, and so they also talk through a translator, and it mumbles what they say, and it's pretty interesting with that aspect. I just think the book is missing like I feel like this should have been a longer book, which is really, really rare. So yeah, I gave it 5 stars the first time around. I gave it 4 stars the second time around because I love the ending, and I think the ending swayed me the first time around. And this time around, I, took a little bit more care to really think through what I thought about the book. And I think I love the ending still, but I think all in all, it's just 4 stars because I feel like it's a little bit on the rushed side. I feel like there were a few topics I would have loved to go deeper into, which the length of the book didn't allow to. So it's fine, but I want more. So I gave it 4 stars. I think this could have been done a little bit more detailed, slightly longer, and would have been a greater experience reading. But I think it's still a great topic because it kind of combines sci-fi and fantasy, but both being humans, and yeah, it was really interesting. So yeah, those are all of the books I read in November. So yeah, we had a pretty not so great start to the month, and then I ended it with a few rereads, that I knew I would love, which I need that. So I'm doing that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, please share your opinion of them down below. I would love to hear that. And yeah, if you've read any really interesting books, tell me in the comments, please. I like to hear that. And hopefully, yeah, you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.